I remember the exact second my world ended. It was 9:17 a.m. on a fog-choked Thursday in San Francisco. I was alone in the glass conference room we called the War Room, the one with the panoramic view of the Bay Bridge that investors always photographed for their decks. My phone buzzed on the table, an incoming wire notification from our corporate account. $120 million had just landed. The acquisition we'd been chasing for months had closed overnight. I should have been screaming, crying, calling my mom. Instead, I opened the cap table one last time to see my name at the top. It wasn't there. My 62% founder shares had vanished. In their place was a single line. Ethan Harlow, 81.4% voting control. The man who'd proposed to me 4 months earlier, with a ring hidden in tiramisu, now owned everything I'd built. And the wire, it was addressed solely to him. I stared at the screen until the letters blurred. He wasn't answering his phone. He wasn't coming to explain. He was already gone. I grew up in Bellevue, Washington, in a split-level house where the biggest drama was whether the Mariners would ever win a pennant. My dad repaired MRI machines and came home smelling of ozone and hospital coffee. My mom taught 9th grade English and graded essays at our kitchen table under a single warm lamp. Money was tight but predictable. They never fought about it. They fought about whose turn it was to drive me to coding camp. I was the kid who fixed the school's grading software at 13 because the off-the-shelf version rounded decimals wrong. Teachers called me Little Bill Gates half-jokingly. Classmates called me nerd less jokingly. I didn't care. Code was fair. It did exactly what you told it to, no hidden motives, no politics. If you built something useful, people noticed. That was the rule I carried into Stanford on a full-ride scholarship. College was a blur of algorithms, hackathons, and the quiet certainty that I would build something big. I interned at 3 unicorns, turned down return offers from all of them, and graduated convinced that the world rewarded merit. Love, I assumed, would work the same way. Find someone decent, be honest, share the load, win together. At 24, I moved to San Francisco with 1 suitcase and a savings account that could cover 4 months of rent if I ate oatmeal for dinner. I crashed on a friend's futon in the Mission, applied to 72 jobs, and finally landed at an ed-tech startup as employee number 8. We built tools for teachers, nothing revolutionary, but solid. I learned how to pitch, how to negotiate term sheets, how to survive on Red Bull and adrenaline. That's when I met Ethan. He walked into our tiny office on Folsom Street one rainy afternoon in 2019 wearing a Patagonia vest and the kind of easy smile that made investors lean forward. He was a product lead from a fintech company, brought in by our CEO to help us think bigger. Within a week, he was sitting next to me at the whiteboard, sketching user flows with the confidence of someone who'd never been told no. Our first real conversation happened over bad coffee in the kitchenette. I was complaining about how adaptive learning systems still failed low-income kids who spoke English as a second language. He listened, actually listened, then said, "You're thinking too small. Build the tutor, not the dashboard." I laughed, "With what army?" He shrugged, "Start with me." We started dadding 3 months later. It felt organic, inevitable. He understood the grind, the 3 a.m. bug fixes, the investor who ghosted after a demo, the terror of payroll. When I confessed over takeout pad thai that I wanted to leave and start my own thing, he didn't flinch. He said, "Do it, I'll help." I believed him. Why wouldn't I? He was the first person who ever made ambition feel like partnership instead of competition. The idea hit me on a red-eye flight back from Austin city limits in October 2020. I was watching a 9-year-old girl next to me struggle with remote school math on a cracked tablet. Her mom was asleep, exhausted from a double shift. The girl whispered, "I'm stupid," when she got a problem wrong. I opened my laptop and started wireframing right there at 30,000 feet. Sophia Learning, an AI tutor that spoke Spanish, Tagalog, Vietnamese, whatever the kid needed. Real-time adaptation, gamified, free for schools under title. I landed in SFO at dawn, went straight to the apartment Ethan and I now shared in No Valley and covered every wall with Post-its. He walked in at noon, took one look, and grinned. "This is the one." We built the MVP in 4 months. I coded the core engine. He handled product specs and early user testing. We incorporated in Delaware, gave ourselves standard founder shares, me 70%, him 10% for sweat equity, the rest for future employees and investors. I remember signing the docs on our kitchen island, laughing about how we'd look back at this moment when we were on the cover of Forbes. We raised a $1.8 million pre-seed from angels Ethan knew, mostly ex-colleagues who trusted his judgment. I was the face. DMOS, conferences, TechCrunch features. 28-year-old female founder revolutionizing education. The headlines wrote themselves. By mid-2022, we had 400 schools live, 40,000 active students, and our first paying districts. Revenue crossed $3 million. Teachers sent videos of kids reading their first full chapter books. I kept a folder of those emails labeled Why. Ethan proposed that August on the rooftop of a winery in Sonoma. The ring was vintage, his grandmother's reset with a new stone. He got down on one knee while the sun bled orange across the vines and said, "I want to build everything with you. The company, the life, the family." I cried so hard I almost dropped the champagne. We celebrated by flying to New York for meetings with 2 top-tier VCs. Both wanted to lead our Series A at a $60 million valuation. Life felt like a rocket that had just cleared the tower. I never noticed the quiet paperwork. He started routing through a new lawyer friend. Standard housekeeping, he called it. I was too busy hearing, flying, dreaming. The first real crack appeared in early 2023. We were in due diligence for the Series A when Ethan suggested bringing in Raj Malhotra as an independent board member. Raj was a partner at one of the interested VCs, charismatic, connected, loved by founders. "He'll help us close faster," Ethan said. I agreed. We gave Raj an observer seat with conversion rights. Around the same time, Ethan began handling all cap table updates himself. "You're drowning in product," he said. "Let me own ops." I was grateful. I trusted him more than I trusted myself on legal fine print. The second crack, he started traveling without me. "Investor dinners," he said. "Off-the-record chats." He'd come home late, smelling of whiskey and someone else's cologne, but he'd kiss my forehead and whisper, "We're so close, Soph." By fall, we closed the Series A, $18 million at $80 million post-money. My shares were now worth over $50 million on paper. We threw a party at our new loft in Soma. Ethan gave a toast. "To the woman who built this and the team that believed in her." Everyone cheered. I floated. That winter, he pushed for a secondary sale, a small liquidity round for early employees and angels. "Let's let people cash out a little. Keeps morale high." I signed. $10 million in secondaries. I took none, wanted to keep skin in the game. What I didn't see. The new option pool he created, the accelerated vesting he granted himself, the shadow shares issued quietly to Raj, and a shell entity he controlled. By spring 2024, acquisition talks began. 2 strategic buyers, major ed-tech giants, circled with 9-figure term sheets. Due diligence rooms filled with lawyers. I was exhausted, living on airplanes but euphoric. $150 million exit in 2 years, unheard of. Ethan became my shadow, always in the room, always taking notes. He started saying things like, "We need to protect the vision long-term. What if something happens to you?" I laughed it off. I was 29, invincible. One night in May, he poured us both Macallan 18 and slid a thick document across the table. "New shareholder agreement, standard for late stage, drag-along rights, protective provisions, lawyers insist." I was half asleep, jet-lagged from Boston. I skimmed, saw familiar clauses signed. That document contained the poison pill, a reclassification of shares that converted his options into super voting stock, plus a proxy he'd quietly collected from Raj and 2 early angels he'd befriended. Combined, it handed him control. I never read page 47. Thursday, October 17, 2024. The wire hit at 9:17 a.m. $120 million from EdTech Global Inc. The acquisition closed at midnight New York time. I ran to Ethan's office, empty. His laptop gone. A post-it on his monitor. Had to handle signing in NY. Call you soon. Love you. I opened the data room. The final signature pages showed Ethan signing as controlling shareholder. My name appeared only as former CEO with a release of claims. Dilution summary. My shares, converted, canceled, repurchased at par value under a clause I'd apparently agreed to in the May document. Effective ownership, 3.8%. Payout to me, $4.6 million pre-tax. Payout to Ethan, $97 million. I called him 17 times, voicemail. I called Raj, straight to a new assistant who said he was unavailable. I called our lead investor. He sighed and said, Sophia, the board voted unanimously. It's done. Tech Twitter exploded by noon. Founder Fiancé, ousted in $120 M exit. Love and term sheets don't mix. Memes, podcasts, a Forbes alert titled The Costliest Engagement Ring in Valley History. I left the office at 2 p.m., walked to the ferry building, sat on a bench facing the water, and finally cried. Not for the money. I could live well on $4 million. I cried for the betrayal. The man who'd held my hair when I had food poisoning, who'd flown to my dad's funeral, who'd whispered forever under Sonoma stars, had planned this for months. That night I packed one bag, left the ring on the kitchen island with a note. Keep it. Payment received. I checked into a hotel under a friend's name, turned off my phone, stared at the ceiling until dawn. The next 6 months were darkness. I moved to a tiny studio in the outer sunset where fog erased the horizon every morning. I stopped reading tech news. Friends reached out, some genuinely, some fishing for gossip. I ghosted most. I hired the best corporate lawyer I could afford. She reviewed every document and delivered the verdict gently. It's airtight. You signed everything willingly. No fraud we can prove, just ruthless lawyering. Case closed. I thought about revenge, leaking chats, going public with details. But every scenario ended with me looking bitter and him looking smart. Silicon Valley loves a winner. So I disappeared. No LinkedIn updates, no conferences. I started running on Ocean Beach at 5 a.m., coding small open-source tools at night just to feel clean again. Then, in April 2025, something strange happened. An anonymous email arrived, a zip file with 400 GB of internal EdTech Global documents. Slack logs, emails, recorded board calls. The leaker's note was short. They're coming for more than your company. I opened the files with a forensic expert. What I found wasn't just about me. Ethan and Raj had been running a pattern. Identify promising female-led startups, insert themselves as supportive partners or board members, engineer control shifts, flip to strategics, repeat. 4 other companies, smaller, quieter, had met similar fates in the past 3 years. Total take, over $400 million. But the real bomb, EdTech Global's acquisition of Sophia Learning, wasn't for our tech. It was for our data. 40,000 children's learning profiles, voice samples, behavioral patterns. They were building a military-grade psychographic AI for a defense contractor. The educational pivot was cover. I sat on my studio floor, surrounded by printed pages, until sunrise. Rage turned into something colder, clarity. I didn't sue. I didn't leak to TechCrunch. I did something quieter. Over the next year, I rebuilt, invisibly. Using the $4 million payout, every cent, I founded a nonprofit research lab disguised as an EdTech consultancy. We hired the best privacy lawyers, ethicists, and white-hat hackers money could buy. In January 2026, we released Echo, an open-source forensic tool that scans cap tables, option grants, and governance docs for exactly the patterns Ethan and Raj used. We seeded it to every accelerator, every women founder network, every law clinic serving startups. Adoption exploded. Within months, 6 attempted dilutions were caught early. 3 boards resigned under pressure. Raj's fund stopped raising. Then the federal subpoena hit EdTech Global for mishandling minor data. Source: an anonymous tip with ironclad evidence, our evidence. Last week, I got a text from an unknown number. You win, deal's off, I'm out. It was Ethan. He's selling his shares at a discount, moving to Dubai, ring still in a drawer somewhere. I'm 31 now. My new lab is funded by grateful founders who kept their companies. We're building real AI tutors again, fully nonprofit, fully transparent, no investors allowed. The $100 million I lost. It bought something bigger, a map of the trap and the tools to burn it down. Sometimes losing everything is the only way to protect what actually matters. Full story drawn from raw emotional truths for reflection and hope. Names changed, any similarities to real people, pure coincidence.